Welcome to our panelists and welcome to our audience. My name is Guillaume Venter. I'm the Pragma Solutions Specialist for Facilities Management, and I'll be hosting our webinar on PEP's transformation in facilities management over the last 5 years or so. We welcome Guillaume de Toy. He's the PEP Store's Fleet and Facilities Manager. Welcome, Guillaume. Thank you so much for being willing to assist us with this webinar and giving us some insights to the services that are delivered on your sites. Charles Norkia, he's our Pragma Asset Care Manager on site, and Gerda Kreer, our Facilities Manager. Guillaume, you've been at Pepco for over 12 years now. What has the company done or the business done to keep you there for so long?
So Guillaume, it's a very interesting and nice company to work for. We've got a very healthy culture here, and I'm actually a baby in the company. We've got plenty of people with 20-30 years of service. It's a very nice environment to work in.
Yeah, we all know how important culture is. Gerda, your bio, you come from a very diverse background. You've worked in many industries, in many sectors, and for lots of different clients. Do FM principles and practices, are they the same across sectors, or do they differ from client to client?
Irrespective of your different client and your scope of services, so I've been very fortunate to work in such a variety of different contracts. One thing remains, and that is your FM principles. That don't change. Client satisfaction will always remain one of your key principles, as well as your focus improvement. Continue to do focus improvement, irrelevant if it's technical services, soft services. So to answer, no, FM principles don't change.
Okay. You also have a strong background in asset identification and verification. Compiling asset registers and from a system point of view as well, a software point of view. How is that assisting you in your daily tasks?
Yeah. So Guillaume, one of the contracts that I gained the most experience in on specifically AIV was on the DOH contract, the Department of Health, where we had to do work with medical equipment as well as business supporting equipment. So moving on to the PEP Campus, it was really easy for me to maintain that AIV process. We have to verify the client's assets quite regularly. So for me, it was a good experience to just continue doing at the PEP Campus.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you so much. Charles, you're the asset care manager, and you recently came into facilities management. How was the transition coming from an asset management background into a facilities management environment, and why did you make the choice?
Hi, Guillaume, and all the people joining us. Yes, so I've been with Pragma for a couple of years now. Next year will be 10 years. So on this first 7 years with my journey in Pragma, I was involved in asset management. And then I got exposed to the facility management side. I went on a site tour to the PEP site, and I was very impressed to see what, the different types of work that we also present there in services. And it looked like a new challenge that I wanted to be exposed to and to upskill myself. And I thought to join that venture. And in terms of your question, the difference between it, initially, I approach facilities almost as mini assets, but I'll soon learn that there's a bit of a difference there. You need to take a new approach. We've got, for example, the landscaping, the waste management, pest control. Those are the type of services that I haven't been exposed to previously. So it was quite good to see all of those and get exposure to them.
Great. And I just want to give the audience some insight. You are an asset care manager. It's not actually a term that the facilities industry is known in the facilities industry. Can you maybe perhaps just give some insight into what the title means and what the Asset Care Center is about.
Yeah, so Gulam, in terms of from our Pragma side, if you look at two main solutions, if you can say it that way, we've got the Asset Care Center, so the ACC either at Pragma or at the client. So at Pragma is where we have got resources sitting here at our site and we assist clients in that method. Whereas the ACC at client is like we've got at PEP, we've got facility managers and handymen and other staff on site. That's their daily, every day. That's their working environment. So that's where they come from. The term asset care manager, as in any company, there's always their own internal structures and titles that they have. So if I can maybe give you a bit of a hierarchy in Pragma, we've got our regional manager, if I can say it that way, that looks after different regions. For example, our project is under the Cape region. So below him, it will be a business area manager. And then depending on the size of the client and so, it can be that that business area manager oversees a project itself or maybe multiple projects. And then where there's some multiple projects, that's also kind of big, like PEP one, asset care manager like myself is then also there to assist and then oversee the project, and then reporting to me as the different facility managers of the sites.
Okay, great. So basically clients have the option to choose whether they want on-site capability or just off-site support for smaller clients.
Yeah, definitely.
100%. So on that point of the size of the client, Guillaume, I'm coming to you just to give us some insight into the PEP campus and how things work there, the size of the organization, the people there, etc. If you can please give us some insight into that, please.
Yeah, so PEP stores we founded in 1965, 56 years back. We're part of the PEP core group. In the PEP core group, we've got quite a lot of brands: PEP stores, Ackermans, Speciality, PEPClo, our factory, Pepco Fin, Pepco Properties, and Pepco IT. And then we also have the DCs, two in Johannesburg, one in Durban, one in Cape Town, that consists of about 165,000 square meters of floor space. So our campus in Para-Industria, we are, Pepco is the owner of the campus. And then we've got a lot of tenants here. On this campus, it's PEP stores as the second biggest tenant, PEPClo as the biggest tenant, and then we also have Pepco Fin, Pepco IT, also Pepco Africa, and we all sit on the same campus and get service from Pragma, and they report to Pepco. Okay.
So basically, you've got a facilities management company that was appointed by the holding company or Pepco, but they deliver services to these multi-tenants, each with their kind of unique environment.
Yes, yeah. So I mean, it's like a zebra. We one zebra, but there's different stripes. So yeah, it's quite difficult. I won't say the culture in PEP stores and in Pepco is exactly the same, keeping in mind that PEP stores were actually the founding company and then only later Pepco arrived.
Okay, great. So, I can see a very diverse scope of services here. It's very clear that PEP is absolutely focused on their core activities, which is retail. What drives PEP's decision when they appoint service provider as a facilities management service provider, as an example?
So we as PEPSOL, we're a low-cost company. That's how we were founded and what we are still today. But we will not compromise price for bad service and bad solutions. So it is a very balanced approach between price and solution.
Yeah, and Guillaume, have you had many landscape changes, prior to Pragma, who's your latest service provider that joined you on site? Has it changed drastically over the last period with Pragma coming on board, or have you got a set solution that works and you keep it the same?
Yeah, so I've been in this position for the last 4 years, working with Pragma. Pragma is with us for about 6 years now, and over the years, the service definitely changed from our previous service provider, and over the years, we were the one big thing that changed were that things were done previously very reactive, and over the years, it actually changed to proactive, where things are fixed before it becomes a really big problem.
Yeah. Okay, I think if I can just skip to the next slide, just to give the audience a bit of background on where Pragma fits in, in the facilities management industry, and our model of working. So we basically look at the structure from an L1, L2, L3 perspective. L1 being the facilities owner, and then Pragma slots in the middle, the facilities manager or asset care center, as Charles mentioned, and then you've got the service providers and contractors on the level. Now, this model is basically designed to enable clients to focus on their core activities. Pragma will manage the SLAs and the contractors, and the reason we want to do this is not to put wolf in sheep clothing. So we know, from experience in FM, that the FM environment is currently an integrated, part of the cycle. Clients are expecting facilities companies to be able to self-perform most of those services. The reason for that is that there's layers of margin, added on services when something is outsourced. Now, Pragma's model is to be transparent. There's no layers of margin, added on those services. So the cleaning company that's appointed, or pest control security company, those invoices are transparent. That goes to PEP, and it's basically a flow through. Pragma's income is based on the asset care center and resources that is put on site. Going back, Guillaume. How did PEP make the decision to appoint a service provider? What is the process that they followed? How do they make the decision? How do they go about that task?
That was something that PEP did before my time, but it was put out on a tender, and with that we decided on the service provider of Pragma. And,
from our knowledge, there was Section 197 involved. It makes things tricky in lots of cases. A facilities management service company takes on staff, but they're servicing the same client. The client is expecting better prices, better value, but you're working with the same resources that were used to a certain structure, you can call it. How important is that culture fit? And how was this transition, from a PEP perspective? How did it work?
Yeah, so because of PEP's culture, it's very important for us. We employ people because they PEP fit. We call it PEP fit because they will fit into the culture, because we can always teach people skills. And that's exactly the same with a company like Pragma. Number one, they must fit into our culture, and I think the fit is a very, very good fit.
Yeah. Then just some of the challenges, I know, Guillaume, when we were planning this, you mentioned to me that Pragma comes from an asset management background, and it's something that we're very strong and focused on. But when you take over a contract, there might be historic challenges when it comes to asset registers, asset tagging, etc. This is something that you struggled with, and it does seem that the service provider is getting it right with new fit outs. Just give us some background there or some insight.
Yeah, unfortunately, with history, big projects were completed, and there were no really proper handover to Pragma or their predecessors. With the newer projects, that's definitely happening. So because Pragma must be the responsible person for that area that's been revamped or changed, and they must look after it. So yeah, the handovers that wasn't done properly in the past, it's quite a challenge.
Yeah. Now, just aligning back to the transformation of the facilities management contract over the past few years. Clients will always expect a facilities management service provider to drive continuous improvement, but there's also focused improvement. Now, the point that I just want to make is that it would be arrogant of a service provider just to or to say that they've got all the answers to the client's questions and problems on site. So what we use as Pragma is our roadmap. And the point is to assess a client's maturity, and not just the current maturity, but where they would like to go as an organization as well. And I'll give some more insights on this later as we go through this webinar. And just maybe to show one of the things that we implement when it comes to improvement projects. And Gerda will shed some light on this later and how we go about it. But basically, it's to assess where a client is at a certain stage of facilities management. So you can see there on the right, firefighting is absolutely reactive state, handling things and work orders, etc. as they come and breakdowns. You move on to the next stage, stabilizing, preventing. So this is a process we go through with the client. To do that assessment. We interview various people within the organization. It's a conversation that we have with them to see where they fit in on the scale. We base this on 11 key performance areas, and we basically come up with a score with the client to identify gaps and say, listen, this is where you are as an organization. This is where you want to go, and this is the things that we need to put in place to get there. Charles, this brings me to you. You came from an asset management background, now you're the facilities or the asset care manager responsible for facilities at PEP. Can you give us some insights on your structure and who the team is and what they do on a daily basis? Charles? Lisa?
Let me quickly just check and see why Charles is not showing up. But in the meantime, Guillaume, maybe you can just move on and then we can just speak about this specific aspect when they come back.
100%. Let me just move on to my... Let me just move on to my next section then. Gerda, the facilities manager on site. How do you choose contractors, appoint them, and how does that tie in with what PEPCO is expecting from us as a service provider?
Guillaume, it seems to me that we've lost both Charles and Gerda. So maybe you can just continue the conversation with Guillaume in the meantime. Okay,
100%. I think this ties into a point where facilities management service providers should be able to react quickly and be flexible. So let's go to the next section for you, Guillaume. Why is focusing on your core activities so important?
Guillaume, maybe just unmute for us, please.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. So yeah, so we are a clothing retail company with 2,437 stores at the moment, and that is our main focus in business, is to focus on our stores out there. They say that a town is not a town without a PEP in it. So yeah, we need to concentrate on our business, and that's where Pragma comes in, so that they can look after the building that we work in without we have to focus on those issues.
100%. I can relate to that. I know growing up, if you wanted to explain how smaller places, now I come from a very small town in Mpumalanga called Delmas. So if you wanted to explain how smaller place, you said Dosney is, I agree with you, there's not even a PEP there. Then, Guillaume, we spoke about added responsibility. You get appointed for a role, and then you get added tasks as you progress in that role, and people put more responsibility on you. How flexible should facilities management service providers be? Because you sign a contract with them for 3 years, there is an SLA in place. How flexible should a service provider be, in light of that?
Yeah, so Guillaume, yeah, life changes the whole time. I mean, in the last 4 years that I've been in this role, I think my portfolio doubled almost. Facilities management is only about 25% of my portfolio. So things change, and a company like Pragma can't be rigid on what they're doing. They need to adapt the whole time, because new issues will come up, new challenges, new requirements will come up, and a facilities management company needs to change the whole time and adapt to those changes.
Yeah, I mean, what is driving your decisions? What is driving PEP's decisions when it comes to FM and their business as a whole?
Yeah, so our decisions will be, number one, we're a low-cost company, so we definitely look at cost the whole time, and then also to make sure that our building is in a proper state all the time. So it's always a balance between cost and the service that we get from Pragma and their service providers. Yeah,
100%, because you've got external impact, things like COVID that had a massive effect on businesses and our industry, and then you've got internal impact as well, things that you can control, other you've got less control over. Now the partnership approach here is key. I liked your saying of writing the handbook together, but partners need to learn from one another as you go along. And I know we've mentioned in previous discussions, there's lots that we've learned from PEPCO, and I don't know if Charles and Gerda are back yet, but there's lots of things that we've learned from PEPCO and that we can now standardize and deliver to our clients, and vice versa, that PEP has learned from us that they can implement in their business. That comes back to the agility and the flexibility. Charles and Gerda, are you back?
We are back, and apologies for that. We've had some unstable connection here.
No problem. I'm just going to jump back. If Charles can just give us a background on or some insight into the on-site team that's delivering the services at PEP.
Yeah, so Graham, so like I said earlier when I spoke about the hierarchy, so we've got at the different sites, like Alo mentioned earlier, the PEP head office, the Joburg, Durban, Cape Town distribution centers. We've got facility managers at each of those sites. And then at the campus sites, you can see we've got a technical supervisor, facilities coordinator, some admin personnel, as well as handymen and cleaners. And then at the different distribution centers, we've also got administrators and technical supervisors and handymen that assist us there with work on site.
100%. And now the rest of the soft services, they slot in below the structure reporting to the facilities managers. Is that correct? Your pest control, cleaning, security, etc.
Yeah, so they are our contractors, L3 contractors that report to us. So we, in essence, their client, if you can say that way.
100%.
We manage them.
Sure. So, managing this contract, you need to put a process in place to assist and make things easier. And I know you've given us a overview of the process. I'd appreciate it if you can just take us through this quickly, please.
Yeah, Gulam. So, it's a lot easier. If I can just maybe everybody, maybe has this happened to before. You've got a person in a key position and they, short notice need to leave. And it's essential to have a process in place that you can escalate to the next person taking that position. So in terms of our work execution, the process is fairly simple. For every work order, for every issue that we log, we need to create a work order for that. Before work can commence, we need to obtain a quotation. So we request quotations from our contractors. They then submit the quotations to us, which we upload against our work orders. That quotation is then sent via triggers that's set up in OnKey, our asset management enterprise system solution, to the required person for the approval. That person can either reject or approve the quotation. If it's approved, it gets sent via a trigger again to the next person to create a purchase order from PEP, which will then be, will then after that notify our facility manager that the work has been approved and we can proceed.
Great. Thank you so much, Shaul. Then we said we're not going to make this webinar about COVID, but it is something that I think we need to touch on. I think both businesses has grown a lot, and we've learned a lot. So Guillaume, just your input, what did it look like before hard lockdown, during lockdown, and after lockdown? What did PEP have to change, if at all anything? What remained the same, and what can we expect in future?
Yeah, so I think the way we work has changed forever. We will never go back to January 2020. But you must remember, even if you have 10 people in the building, all the lights must still work, all the HVAC must still work. The whole building must still go on. So it doesn't. The whole building doesn't stop there because everybody's in lockdown. One thing that happened after lockdown is that we needed access control and temperature scanning, making sure that people clock in, so we know how many people is in the building according to regulation. Pragma and our security company stepped up to the plate and provided that change service for us to make sure that we have proper access control of people walking into the building and that they do everything according to regulation.
That's great. And Gerda, from your perspective now, all these changes are happening. Pragma is the appointed facilities management company, and we've appointed all these other service providers that are essentially contracted to us delivering services at PEP. Now there's lockdown, there's contracts, there's SLAs, some services are not needed. People still need to get paid, people's livelihoods are at stake. What did you do to manage this process?
Sure, COVID was new for Pragma, for the client and all of our contractors. So it was all about negotiation. So during hard lockdown, the only on-site service provider we had was security. So they remained on site. We obviously reduced some of the complements that wasn't necessary. Other on-site contractors like your landscaping, waste management companies, they were not on site during hard lockdown. So it was all about negotiating with these companies. either pay a portion of the labor component and get a reduction on management. If you're looking at aircon services, for example, we've looked at extending contracts. So it was, it had to be a win-win situation for everyone at the end of the day. So yeah, I would just say going back to the negotiations at the end of the day.
Yeah. So you extending contracts to make up for the lost time, essentially.
Correct. Yes.
That's a great initiative. And how did the relationship between Pragma and PEP work? Is it stronger after this process? Guillaume, and I'm asking this question to you as well, because you mentioned writing the handbook. I mean, there's no one gave us a handbook for COVID and says this is how you've got to handle it. Companies needed to adapt quickly.
Yeah, no, I think it was a difficult situation for everybody, and definitely a stronger relationship after the whole hard lockdown and all the months now with soft lockdowns and less people coming in, making plans and get solutions. So it definitely changed the relationship, because we were both in this thing and we had to manage it.
Yeah, 100%. So Pragma employees know this. When we come to the office, we do the normal temperature checks, etc. Part of our HSSE app was adapted in order for us to log COVID symptoms. But the most important thing is, like Guillaume mentioned, is to report on this. We want to know as an organization where you stand, what's happening. And I mean, I'm someone that looks at the news every day to track the number of cases, etc. And I think businesses need to look at it the same. I just want to show a short video of Pragma's approach to capturing this and the reporting on that. So basically, we've got a link to a website on our phone. So when you arrive at the office, you enter your email address, so we know who the person is that's coming in. You check your temperature. The app will then ask you to insert some of your systems, or none if you have none. And then also very important, who you've had contact with. Were you using public transport like a bus and a train? Have you been in close contact with someone with symptoms, etc.? And the feedback we get from our resources enables us to report accurately and track this as a business. Now, we touched on this while you were away, Charles and Gerda, but we know through COVID, people get extra responsibilities. Security guards aren't just security guards anymore. Now, all of a sudden, they have to take people's temperature and fill in a COVID form. And HR or another department, IT, has to report on tracking the symptoms, etc. Especially with big organizations, it's very important. But the point is, facilities management companies should be able to adapt and take on extra responsibility and align with the client's transformation and their facilities management journey. So, Charles, can you just highlight some of the other things that we're doing that might not necessarily be part of a standard facilities management contract?
So, Guillaume, if I just maybe take the slide that you've got here in front of us, on the left side is our asset tree. So the example I'll just take you through is one of the, on the distribution side, perhaps just I'll take you through some examples there. So if you look at on the left side on the asset tree, the asset highlighted in red there, it's one of our long forks. So it enables us as well to open the asset details. So on the picture on the right side, it's our asset window, and on the user defined field, we can indicate our different makes, model, serial number, any contract details that we have with our contractor as well, that we can indicate our SLA values. And then that can assist us, in seeing, if you maybe go to the next slide for me, please. So what we can do is after we configured all that information on the different assets, we can develop our own reporting to combine everything. So the slides that you see here is the different machines that we have. So, you have a good look on what machines you have. It shows you the different makes and model all in one summary, as well as for our batteries. And see, this one is the chargers as well. So we can identify whatever charges we have, we assign them to one machine. So one machine, 2 batteries, 1 charger, and then we've got a concatenated report that can show us all the different summary of everything together. So you've got one view to show you all the different information you have for machines, for the SLA. So it gives you a good overview, when you want to do your budgets, perhaps, if you want to view what, like I said earlier, our vision is to have 2 batteries, or idea is to have 2 batteries per machine. And it will also indicate that to us. If you just on the previous slide, we'll show that as well. Yeah. So it's just a bit easier to manage it for us.
Yeah, so Pragma being strong in the asset management background, it's an element that we can bring into a facilities management contract, just to create more value, for the client. And Charles, I know you're going to show us a system now. I just want to give the audience just a high-level picture. OnKey is our enterprise asset management system, which we deploy, at our facilities management sites. We use this technology, to have accurate, up-to-date asset registers. And the key differentiator for me with Pragma's FM is the call logging against assets. That asset register is very, very important. And why that's so important is the accurate feedback that we can generate on asset-specific items, and not just buildings. It's not a list of work orders that you open against the building, but you can physically drill down and see where those work orders got created on those assets, the historical work orders, etc. Now we've got a few added technologies attached to OnKey, in support of this. So I spoke about the intelligent asset register, and we have insights, which Charles will show you now. It's the reporting tool. Then on our work management, the plan and control of asset-related activities, we've got OnKey Action, which are applications that we expose to contractors and technicians, etc., that are executing work in order to get up-to-date, accurate feedback. We are able to integrate this, with various systems, ERPs or financial systems, etc. But then also looking at, Industry 4.0, the future, IoT, etc. We've also got some smart assets that we can integrate, to the system, to give you a live view of what's going on in your business and your assets. Now, coming back to transformation and facilities management companies needing to adapt, the service request app, and we'll show a quick video now. The service request app is something that we're currently implementing at clients, at PEP as well. And basically what it entails is allocating a QR code that's unique to a certain area within the building or a certain asset. And an asset can be a boardroom, it can be an office, it can be an open plan office. But what this allows you to do is it allows the people within the organization or guests visiting the premises to log calls. Because you create the process, there's certain elements that people previously struggled, organizations previously struggled with, like duplicate work orders that we can now avoid, because while logging the call, you'll get sight of those work orders. So there's no need for you to log another request. So the system will basically, it just makes the system a little bit smarter. The system now knows where the work order has come from, who the requester was, what the asset is, and what's needed. So it just makes the whole process a bit more efficient. I'm going to show you the video quickly.
The Service Request app allows anyone to contribute to the enterprise asset management or facility management objectives of an organization by allowing users to log service requests. Assets or sections of the organization are each assigned a unique QR code, which can be scanned using any smart device. Once scanned, the user will be directed to the Service Request app, where they can log in as either a registered employee or using their email address. A list of service requests, which have already been created for the asset, is displayed, which the user can scan through to see if their service request has already been logged. If still required, the user can create a new service request with all the details of the work required, and select the option to receive a link where they can keep updated on the progress of their request. This information is then sent to the organization's electronic asset management system to be scheduled and executed. On-key action, simplifying asset management activities.
Lisa, I just want to check. I saw something pop up. Is there questions from everyone? Are they being answered?
Hi, Guillaume. It's a question that I will answer on our behalf. Thank you.
Okay.
But while you have the mic, or I have the mic, you're all welcome to pop your questions into the Q&A. It's at the bottom of your screen, and then our panelists can also answer and respond. Thank you.
Cool. Good. Just something that I'd like to highlight about our service request app and why everybody can use it. We do have native apps that we've got installed on devices, like our Work Manager app, which we're not going to show today. But the Facilities Management Assistant or the Service Request application is just a link to a URL. And people don't have to have a physical application saved on their phone and need to do updates. Work can be done on this application, and every time someone uses this application, it'll use the updated version. So that's a very nice advantage of this application that we deploy for the work requests. Shaul, over to you. If you can show the audience just some basic, some of your basic on-key skills. And then I'll ask you some questions as we go along, and then the reporting and insights attached to that as well, please, if you can quickly share your screen.
Will do, so Guillaume. Guillaume, if you can just confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes, it's clear.
Yep.
Okay. So this is OnKey. This is our asset register. So as you can see, these are the different sites that I look after in our portfolio for PEP. So we've got our main campus here. So you've got the different layouts of the different buildings that we have. So what I'm just going to show you, so different levels that we have into different facilities, different regions. So what I'm just going to show you quickly is a feature if we would like to, just have a look at the different assets that we have there. Just allow me some seconds to populate this.
Quite a few assets loaded there, Shaul.
Yeah, quite a few. So what I thought was just to show you perhaps quickly. So what you can do, what's easy is you can look up all the different assets that you have in your site. If you would like, we've got a search bar at the top here. So if I type in, for example, a generator, it will show you all the different generators that we have. So I'll just show you maybe quickly this one with asset number 00106. So what I can do on my asset tree 00106, and I can search and so on. So that asset number that you see in blue is the same as the barcode asset number that we placed on the generator. So what I can do from here is I can open the asset as I showed earlier. You know, you can have your different attributes of the generator, whatever, and this can be configured what you want to see to capture on your generator. You can view your different tasks that's assigned on your generator to show what you want to do. You can also view your different work orders for that generator. If you want to see if there's any problems on the generator, you can go in there, you can see all work orders, you know, view it per status or however you would like to configure it to see what you want to see. This is the work order that you generated. Like I said earlier, against each work order, we've got quotations, we've got costing. So I would like to view the costing of the generator as well. It's just easy to run the costing for that as well.
Charles, I see Guillaume wants to make a comment, and I've got a question then for you when he's done. Go ahead, Guillaume.
Maybe just my comment. We're very excited about this new barcode scanner or QR code scanner. So you can imagine in our building, a secretary must now log a call. Before this barcode, you will have to go into the system, and you can see it's quite a daunting system with lots of little labels and descriptions and things. And if you don't work in the system every day, it's mind-boggling. So yeah, we are very excited with this new QR code scanner, where it will be so much easier to report something that is wrong with a specific asset or room or something. Yeah, definitely a very big improvement.
100%. Charles, if you could quickly go back to the asset tree, I think that was my point. Someone that's not technically inclined would look at this and quite frankly be overwhelmed with all this information and assets into the system. But there's a very specific reason why we do this, and we know it's to have the accurate information. My question to you is, there's so many assets. We saw now a couple of thousands. It must take a long time to insert this, or what do you do? Is there functionality within OnKey to ease this process? You showed me a couple of generators. Do you have to go and create each generator in the system every time you want to add one?
So Guillaume, the basics will be to build like a building blocks for the different asset types that you know. So when you start at the new client, you know, you engage with them, you sit down with them, and you understand what type of assets they have. So for example, if you've got your generators and so forth. So what we do on our side is this is the asset tree that I'm showing you now. We've got another asset type tree. So the asset types differ from the asset types, from the assets itself. So in terms of generators, you know, you only have to configure a generator once in OnKey, and you can assign the different tasks that you want to, you know, roll out to all the assets that are generators. So once you configured your asset type tree, with all the different assets that you have, you will then start populating your asset tree. So your asset tree, doing your asset identification, verification, barcoding the different assets. Once you have that information, you just populate into a template in Excel, and then we use our import tool and then to populate OnKey. So all the different generators will all roll out and sync from the one asset type tree of the generator that was created.
Yeah. Now let's get to the reporting, because I mean, any business can only make informed decisions if they've got accurate reporting. So the building blocks are great. We're building the asset trees, we're building the asset type trees, we're getting the information onto the system. But how do you extract that information, and what are you able to see? And what have we done for PEP with this information to generate value?
So Guillaume, yeah, you know, we've got our standard reports that OnKey already has allocated. You know, when you start OnKey, if I can say it that way, you've got your general reports that you can make use of, but you can also customize reports.
Can I share my screen? Sure, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So, you know, if there's anything specific that a client would need, they can sit down with us. You know, if it's easy for us, for myself or somebody on the team to assist them, we generate the report ourselves. or if it's a bit more complicated, we can allocate that to our, one of our programmers as well, and they can generate a report for us as well. So the one that you're showing here is just of our example of our budget report that we have. So just behind this slide, if you can maybe go one back. So what you can see on here is we've got different sites. So if I look from the left side at the top, you've got, your budgets versus your actuals. At the bottom side, you've got your different sites that we have, followed that by our different. So you can see in this example, in the machinery and so on that we have, we can break that down into our service level agreements and our unplanned costing. And our service level agreements, we break down in cost centers per different type of service levels, as well as for unplanned work or different types of ad hoc work that you allocate. So on the right side that you can see a bit blurred, if you can maybe go to the next slide, please. So what you can see here on the right side is we've got different costing, or different columns. We've got our actual cost, we've got committed cost, budget cost, and variance cost. So our actual cost, that is our figures that we've already invoiced, or our contractor has invoiced already. Our committed cost is open work orders for which we receive purchase orders from PEP, but it's still in progress and we haven't received our invoices yet. And the budget cost is our budget that we receive from PEP that we've inserted into OnKey. So using all that, we can create a variance cost. So that would be the budget cost minus the actual plus committed cost to give us an idea of where we are at our budget. So this syncs from OnKey directly. So it's relatively live, and we can give anybody access on our project to that if they want to go in there and they want to view where they are. If more information is needed on the details of the costing, that's where they can contact me and I can go into the different work orders and we can have an idea or show them more information that they wish to see.
Great. Now, Guillaume, how do the budgets work at PEP? Who comes up with these budgets and how is Pragma involved in the process?
So, Guillaume, so number one, OnKey is quite an important tool because, as you will know, that you base your budget on the actual costs of the previous year, and you need to keep track of those costs. And yes, so OnKey is a very important tool there. So Pragma will then create a budget. Now, keep in mind our contribution to the campus budget is only about 35%, and then they will give all the budgets to us in budget meetings, and then we will panel beat it to a budget that is acceptable for us. And then that will be the budget for the new year then.
Okay, I'm great. So your partner is assisting you in this process, and then from there, now the budget is approved, now the work starts for the new financial year. How does the reporting and the feedback on the budget work?
Yeah, so we've got a quarterly meeting, and then Charles and Gerda will then report on the budget. But then also on a monthly basis, we do get all the flow-through costs. So we can, on a monthly basis, know exactly where we're standing with the budget. If we overspend, underspend, even per line, where we are standing.
Yeah. And obviously things happen. We mentioned this earlier. What you can control, what you can't, external factors that influence your business, such as COVID. Now you've got to go buy thermometers, and there's a whole host of extra expenses. And you mentioned just because it's hard lockdown and some people are not at the office, your HVAC is running, your lights are on, etc. Some of the services are still on site and carrying on, not as normal, but very close. But these additional expenses, this is not included in the budget. So how is that handled when they do come up?
So you must remember this budget is a maintenance budget. So that is all maintenance and maintenance that we expect coming through for the next year. Any big other costs we will either capitalize So that will fall outside this budget, or we will have an overspend, and then we will have to report and explain why the overspend. But as far as possible, we try to keep to our budget because we are a low-cost company.
Yeah. Gerda, so we've got various contractors and service providers working on site, and our model is based on transparency with these contractors. How are we keeping them honest? Are our contractors measured? Are we making sure that the client is getting the best value, at the market-related price from a vetted contractor?
Yeah, no, definitely, Gulam. So when we select service providers, obviously it's quite a fairly straightforward process. You have to get your client's input involved in what the outcomes should be. But on a monthly basis, what we do is we call it a balanced scorecard. So we meet with our service providers, we go through some set KPIs, and then we monitor and manage the process to see, are they performing as they should? Are there room for improvement? So we review that on a monthly basis with our service providers to ensure that they perform.
100%. And are we looking at the bigger picture, for PEP as a group? Are services standardized across, the portfolio? I know in some regions, some services are more expensive than others. Their hourly rates might be a little bit different, but do we standardize this offering at the client sites?
I want to say we do and we don't, but mostly we do. In some cases, if you're talking about, the electrician's rate, if we've got various facility management contracts that we've got, if service provider ABC is providing an electrical service to client one, we expect that service provider to bill us the same price or the amount for us at PEP. So it's building a relationship with that service provider as well. And the more business you give them, the better the rates as a benefit to our client. But yes, our aim is to keep the rates the same, as far as possible.
Yeah. Now, Charles and Gerda, what does the future look like? What are things that we can look forward to, that you're looking forward to? I know everybody's waiting in anticipation for everybody to get vaccinated and this thing to blow over, which is not going to be quick. But what are some of the exciting things? And Guillaume, you can come in as well. That is going to happen over the next period.
Yeah, I think, Guillaume, I think it's going to be interesting to see where we are, like I said, after COVID, to see how we can get back. I think at least what we learned from COVID is that we can continue providing services during this time of period. Technology provides us this opportunity that we can work remotely where required. And I think in terms of technology stuff, there's a lot of Internet of Things that's coming out, making sure we can integrate that into OnKey. If I can take maybe just example generators again, you can get technology that can indicate battery level, your fuel level, all those to give you warnings, automate those type of things. So I think in terms of Internet of Things, that's a big thing that will grow. And, I think as well, the more it gets developed, the cheaper the solution gets. So I think that's really something that excites me, is the technology growth that we are experiencing currently and where that's going.
Yeah, I know Guillaume just mentioned he's looking forward to the service request app being implemented fully now, so we can lessen the burden of the calls that are being logged. I want to thank our panelists and Guillaume for making the time and giving us some insights into this journey. Key takeaways for me is, of course, that facilities management service providers should be a partner. They shouldn't just be delivering a service according to a SLA and be changed every 3 months or whatever the period is. There should truly exist a relationship, an open relationship at that, and we should continually work together to write the FM handbook and to better ourselves and to better our client sites. I'd like to open the floor to any of our guests to ask some questions if they want, to any of the panelists or to myself. Doesn't look like we have any questions. Any last comments or remarks, Guillaume, from your side? Thank you so much for joining us.
You must be doing a very good job. There's no questions.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for inviting me. And just as a closure, I want to say that it's a really nice journey that we have with Pragma, and we bettering all the time, and because of very, very good communication between Pragma and business. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Guillaume. Thank you for the compliments. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week further, or what's left of it, and have a great day. Enjoy. Thank you.